So let's talk drums. I'm going to show you all the drum mics that we used. We've moved the drum skin around so we could get access to it, but Mike put the internal kick in mic on, didn't you? So what have you used on the kick?
We've used a D12, and it's, I don't know, what is it? It's probably a third back from the front head, the beta head, and sort of aimed at where the beta hits, but sort of off to the side of the shell a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah, and then the outside mic, we've got the front head quite loose, and this is a little Earthworks condenser mic with a pad on it, and that's just sort of getting a bit of low end and resonance, so it's making the note a little bit longer.
Yeah, and we mixed those and we've printed that to tape. So being brave. Okay, so let's move over to the snare. We've got a 57, which is the obvious mic to use for rock and country and stuff like that, because snares on records recorded with a 57 sound like snares on records. So that's what I've gone through for, and I have sort of pointed it at the center of the drum where Will has been hitting. And yeah, it's that simple. It's maybe 2-3 inches above the drum skin. Underneath, what did you put underneath?
It's a 441, a Sennheiser, which is very directional, but the low end on it sounds really nice as well.
Yeah, and that was originally, before it dropped after the session, it was originally pointing up towards the bottom skin. So I think I mentioned before in the control room that we're using some of the low end off that. So if you're remixing this track, make sure you don't totally high pass that.
That'll be tricky because those are summed together.
Yeah. Oh yes, true. So it's just a single snare. What else have we got? Rack tom, high tom is a 421, of course, and it's pointing at the center of the drum skin. It's just out the way enough for Will to play. I can't remember what setting we've got that on here.
M, I think.
M, music, we think. The 41's a great mic for toms, always sounds classic. I think what we did was we did a little bit of tuning, tweaking, didn't we, on that tom, just to get it right, and a little bit of positioning, moving this around. Just again, it's, you know, a few inches from the striking point. He's a very disciplined drummer, so he's not going to smash the mic by accident or anything. Floor tom mic. This was your choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a large diaphragm dynamic. It's a D112, but I forget what the Shure one is. That's fine. D12 is good. Yeah, it's big mic for a big sound.
Yeah, sounds great.
Sounds great.
Right. Well, we've got some. Let's talk about the hat actually, and I think that was one of yours. What is it? A 184?
Yeah, it's a 184.
Yeah. And where do you point that on the?
Well, it varies. If you just want some hi-hat, probably point it directly down. If you want loads of stick attack, you can sort of aim it at where Will's playing. But we're using this mic to get some really cool snare sound as well. So we've actually got a bit of low end EQ'd in on this, which is adding a bit of sort of weight to the snare. So sort of going across, and yeah, it sounds pretty natural.
So I guess people watching this are saying, well, if Russ is producing this, then why doesn't he know what mic is on what? So what I've done here is I've really given Mike sort of free rein to kind of do what he does, because this is his studio. He's recording here, you know, every day, and he knows his gear. So it's really worth, if you're in a place like this, it's really worth just embracing what the house sound is, and you know, then listen to that. And if it sounds good, go with it. And talking about the house sound, what's this?
This is a U47, and we're going to call it the Verst mic for obvious reasons, and it's sort of positioned looking across to the snare. Anywhere around here is cool. It gets surprisingly little ride cymbal. And then we've just got it through a compressor. Which
we use the LA.
It's a 660 compressor, an
yes.
one. So,
yes.
But any compressor would do just fine, you know.
And you can really make it sound weird and mix it back in with the track. It's about bringing up those bodies and that resonance and stuff, isn't it? And then getting little bits of attack that you're not getting elsewhere. So for the overheads, we decided to do something a little bit different to what we would both normally do, which is to focus on the cymbals. So are these 87? Which?
Yeah, they're 87s.
What have we got? I don't know which version they are, but
it's the 70s one with the batteries, I think.
The nice ones. And yeah, they're kind of equal distances from the snare, aren't they? We measured that out, I think.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then moved them around a bit. And they're really there just to pick up the cymbals. As I say, normally, like I would do, you've probably seen in other videos, I would do a more holistic approach to overheads with the kind of recordman style approach. And I know, Mike, you do a bit of a similar thing, don't you, usually? Yeah. So that's the overheads. And then we've got a couple more mics in the room, which are these beautiful ribbon mics, which are pointing at the floor. And probably the worst use of a beautiful mic that I've seen recently. But what was that all about? Like, why have we done this?
Well, we wanted less cymbals in the rooms. Yeah. When you point them at the room, you get some kind of nice boundary effect. Whatever that is, I've no idea. But it sounds good. And then you've applied a bit of EQ to them, some compression. And
so I put the bus compressor on off the SSL, the actual desk, the AWS, and then we printed that compressed version to
and it's sort of a mid-tempo track, isn't it? So you've sort of lengthened all of the drum sounds a little bit.
Yeah,
which
so
is really
we're
cool.
talking about sort of compressing. So we're raising the body of the drum sound with these compressed sounds, whereas most of the attack is coming from the more close mic'd stuff. So we can then fade between those two sets of tracks to get a more wholesome, thicker sound, which has less transient to body ratio, as it were. So that is the drum kit, except for one cool thing that we've done, which is to stick this floor tom down here, straight in front of the kick drum, and put a 57 on it. And then we ran that through, this is one of my favorite techniques. We ran that through, what is it, like a Moore, little tiny
some kind of 30 quid fuzz
pedal.
pedal, yeah.
So this is going to really just pick up loads of resonance, and you can kind of drive the gain of that pedal. We'll probably see a video of that right now, and really get this kind of crazy resonating sort of crunchy sound. So that's going to be used really sort of mildly in the mix, only in certain sections, and I usually gate that off a kick and a snare close mic. And it gives this kind of crunchy punch, crazy different sounds that you might want just to add a bit of aggression. So I think we've thrown that in on the choruses. Let's talk guitar. We have the awesome Mr. Sam Woods here, who is, well, you tell me what you're playing.
So this is a Sir Classic T Antique. So it's supposed to be like a 52 telly.
So you've got a nice little compact pedal board with a few tasty things.
Yep.
What were you using for the, well, in fact, what pickup were you using for
just the bridge pickup with the tone rolled down just a little bit, because when it got a bit louder in the chorus and there's some sort of power chords and stuff. So.
And then you were going into a Strymon Flint?
Strymon Flint. So the Flint is basically like the most common pedal that I've seen. You know, everybody's got one of these. But
go and look it up.
And also the Melody, which is by J Rocket Audio.
Yes.
Which is an overdrive. So I just had that on the whole time with the volume control just riding that, and then some tremolo on the Flint as well in the verses.
Yeah, that was in the verses. Yes. So we were going through an attenuator, an aux, Universal Audio aux attenuator, which is yours, isn't it? Into your Bogner. What's the
So that's a Bogner Shiva 20th anniversary. thing. So it's super loud. It's like 100-watt all valve. So the aux really it helps with that, the attenuation and stuff.
Absolutely. So you can drive those power stage.
Nice and transparent.
What I usually do with electric guitar cabs is I'll have a 57 close, halfway between the cone and the edge, so the center and the edge of the cone, pretty close up on the grill, and then I'll have a large diaphragm condenser of some form about 1 meter away. That's just to add that room grind. In fact, we compressed that on the way to tape as well, so we got a bit more room sound from the booth, which again is about sustaining those notes just a little bit longer and giving like a bit more character to the whole recording. It sounded really good. I really like the way you sort of drive it during the choruses and pull back during the verses. Very sensitive playing. So, bass, what did we do? Well, while we were tracking live together, I actually used this Acme Motown DI. It's the WB3. It sounds really cool. And look at it, it's got a great box and a nice big chicken head knob on the front. Actually, one thing we found was that it did pick up a little bit of noise from the fairy lights. So simple solution was just to move the DI over to the drum riser. Problem solved. But we actually used for the Ambio VR recording this Ampeg B15. It's a early 2000s reissue, is that correct? Yes, that's correct. And that's just going through an Ampeg cabinet, and we stuck it in the room and turned it up. I sort of tailored the sound a little bit from the bass, just to suck out some of the mids and make it a bit more processed sounding before it hit that Ambio VR mic. But yeah, generally, it's just a DI. Bass is easy to record. Still on the M25, so it's looking about 20 to 12 we're due in. So
Slacker.
If you want to get them looking, maybe that country track, if they can start learning that would probably be like a good plan, or just have to listen through the stuff. I'm sure there's tons of stuff to do, but I'll see you in a bit.
That's our resident Rick Rubin.
Yeah.
Record production, Rick Rubin.